Live on a first Friday edition of the program. Merely Bo in the Great Z. How you living, buddy?
Well, I know that you can't be happy.
Why is that? Why? I'm all right.
No, it's going on outside. You can't be pleased with that.
Oh, the rain?
Freezing rain, ice
but
rain.
It's 70 tomorrow.
How?
And then like 22 Friday.
That can't be good for the environment,
Sicknesses?
for illness, for the animals.
I'm okay. No, I mean, I'll tell you, like the walk this morning with Buddy Garrity, that was not fun in the rain.
No.
That was not a treat in any way.
No.
He looked at me like, really? You sure? Can't
Sure
we just do this in here?
Yeah, how do we
And
go
I said,
from,
no, we're not. You got to move. So I'm not worried about the temperature. It's the rain. It's been raining all day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah.
It's going to go 65 and then down to why?
It's nuts. And then it stabilizes. Like, do you think are we done with winter? No more big snow? The one thing you can usually say around here once you get through February is sustained snow is over. Like, we will get snow again, but it won't stick for 2 weeks or whatever, or a month.
I think you're right about that. I think this was a huge year for the plow industry because you pay your flat fee, and then however many pushes they do or do not have to do. This was a good year for them.
You do flat fee? I go per push.
You go per push?
They got crushed.
What?
They would have got crushed by the per push. I think they were only there twice.
Yeah, but last year
times.
You would have gotten per push would not have been great for you.
Look at that guy.
It comes in and out. Look at him again every week.
On a Wednesday.
It's a first Friday.
Oh my gosh, the gritty.
He's hitting the gritty.
The whole bit.
Just so much panache. So much panache.
Dripping with panache.
Yeah, look at him.
I like that. That's his move, really, is that.
Little roll of the dice.
That's the roll of the dice. That's his move. That's
look
the
at
one.
Dom's got some heat on his feet. Yeah,
what's he got? Does he got T-Scotts?
I don't even know what he's wearing. I've never even seen what Dom's wearing, but they're talking about. Look, they're looking down.
Yeah,
it's always good when a conversation between two men starts with them looking at each other's feet.
Yeah, my oldest this morning, it was big contemplation what to wear to school today because he wanted to play basketball at recess. And I said, well, first of all, I don't think you're going to have a recess. I think it's going to be raining. I think he's inside, so I think that's going to go. And then I said,
checkers.
So for his birthday and for Christmas over the holidays, he asked for anybody who asked what do they want to get him, he said, get me gift cards. So he asked for gift cards for Nike and Dick's.
Yep.
So I said, okay, fine. So let's go ahead and do that. So he goes to purchase the things, and all he buys is like Dunks, Jordans, like these type of shoes that he doesn't want to crease, right? He doesn't want to crease them. I said, listen, dude, crease them. Your foot's going to grow in 6 months, and none of these are going to fit you anyway.
Yes.
And your brother's going to wear them. No, he's not. I'm like, what? They're not museum pieces. Like, they're going to be worn. So
have you told him that the time to become a sneaker collector is when his foot stops growing?
Of course. Yes. But like, if he wants gift cards, who am I to say, well, you can't use them on that? Like that, that's the way it goes. So anyway, he's got all these shoes that he can't wear because he didn't want to crease them. And watching him walk with shoes that he can't crease is just amazing. It's stunning how ridiculous he walks.
Who's so into this no crease world?
Him and his little animals. They're all into it. That's their gimmick. They're all worried about it.
It's absurd.
Crazy. It's nuts.
You can't become a sneakerhead. You can pick out what you would like to have in your collection, but save your money until your foot stops growing,
right?
And then they're yours. Otherwise, he's going to have these things. He's not going to crease them.
Done in 6 months.
He's gone in less than a year. Then it's going to be Middle Brothers. Then
Beamsy
it's going to
gets
be
it. Beamsy.
Then the boots, and Bootsy's going to be like, I don't care about. I'm going to
he's
crease
going to wear them
in
play shoes.
He's going to go. I'm going to go wear these in the mud.
Of course he is.
What are you going to do about it?
Nothing.
They'll fit your feet
is the answer.
Right.
No, it's all bad on all levels.
Yeah.
But he's complaining to me today that he doesn't have any play shoes. I said, well, that's your problem. Like, you're the one who's wanted these are the shoes. These are your play shoes. Wear whatever you want, man. I'm not stopping you.
Yes, exactly.
Wear what you want. You got into this
Use
mess.
them. They are going to be gone. That's one thing, and you could imagine under the yoke of Pedro, I was not allowed at all to get super nice sneakers. No. I could maybe have one decent pair for basketball, but I wasn't able to go get like
what you
everybody
wanted,
had Jordan 6s, and I wanted Jordan 6s one year, and he's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Yeah, your foot changes in a month.
The rule for me was the basketball shoe and most of the times it was usually a Christmas gift. I got what I would want. I would have like a wish list. Like I remember specifically the Jordan 4s I had, and some I think I had the 6s too. Like there were those that I had asked for and got them for Christmas. But the rule was then I wore them the next year for school.
What?
That was the operation. So I wore them through basketball season, and then the next year they were my school shoes.
Yeah, but they wouldn't fit your foot.
They usually would last 6 months. You'd get 6 months out of them.
Okay.
To a year. Usually a year. You could force your foot in them.
I grew rapidly.
Yeah. Yeah. My growth spurt didn't hit until high school.
Okay.
So but I was able to, get a year out of a shoe. So yeah, that was the rule that
me
went.
me and Boods have a pair, my highlighter yellow
Yeah.
slip-ons, which are great.
Those are great.
We have them in common, Boods and I. He liked them, so I got them for him as well as for me. And I went to go put them on yesterday because I like to wear them with my navy pant because they have the navy stripe down the middle of it.
Yeah.
And yesterday was a fine weather day. It wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah.
Today, obviously, I couldn't have worn them. So I go to put them on. Left foot goes on perfectly. The right foot is an 11.5.
Oh.
So he has a mismatched
He's walking
pair.
around. What are you, a 13?
Yeah.
So he's walking around with a 13 and an 11.5?
And hasn't noticed. I've said to him, hey, you've got one of my shoes. Yesterday I said to him on text, you got one of my shoes. Nothing. So I said, bring them home today, please. Because I'd like
Look
my
down,
13.
Boots.
Yeah. What are you doing? Like, how does he not know?
I don't know.
How did I discover it just by trying to put them on? He wore them out of the house. How did he put one on and be like, this feels bigger?
There's the possibility of it just from – the one thing I will say was those are Epic Reacts, aren't they?
They're the like slip-on. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's
Sure.
an Epic React. The one thing about those shoes is that no matter what, they're the same snug around the ankle.
Yeah.
Because it's a sock.
Yeah.
So it's at least believable that he wouldn't notice the difference in length, whereas you obviously would because you're ramming up against, and he's not.
It wasn't even happening.
Yeah, but my guess is that the compression around the forefoot and ankle would be similar in both.
Yeah.
Which is why you love those shoes, because you don't need to tie them. You just slip and away you go. Oh,
Look
there
at
he
the great
is.
Previtz.
The great Previtz.
Look at that. It's a beautiful camel.
It's a gorgeous camel.
Yeah.
Ash Wednesday, he's ready to
yeah,
go.
he is ready to go.
Look at that. I mean, that was a very sophisticated look at a Previtz.
Yeah. The
The
camel.
great Previtz.
There's not enough camel. There could be too much camel, Mike McCarthy. But there sometimes isn't enough
As
camel.
soon as you said camel, I went into the Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
just
That's
apex
too much camel.
So much.
That's all camel. You can't be head to toe camel.
No.
But a camel, like what he's got here, a peacoat, it's a beaut.
I think it's I think camel is best served in that fashion as a coat. I don't even mind it as a sport jacket. I think it can be pulled very easily. I think it looks lovely.
Over in navy?
Oh, for sure. Sometimes I'm not crazy about a camel pant, but I do love a coat. I think it really accentuates the greatness in you.
Yeah. But
It's a power play.
When you have a pant, a coat, I think there was a vest underneath, a hat.
God, it was so much.
Gloves.
Yeah. He looked like, you remember like Morty Seinfeld was slinging those raincoats? I mean, that whole outfit was.
I felt like he looked like Boss Hogg if Boss Hogg was in camel and not white.
Boss Hogg. I mean, he's lived one of the great lives on that show. I mean, what?
Oh, yeah.
He ran the town.
Yeah. He was pretty much unchecked if it weren't for those
He was a
dang Hazard boys.
the dang Duke boys that were out there doing it was Hazard County.
Hazard great.
Yeah. It was. Did I tell you I drove we went to Atlanta for, I don't remember what it was for, a Braves game or something, and to just hang out. They have good things to do in Atlanta, as you can imagine. You live there? We Googled that show was shot in some town outside of Atlanta. It wasn't that far out of the way. So we went over to this place, some buddies and I were like, let's go. We got to go. I mean, let's go to where they shot Dukes of Hazzard. So we go in there, and sure enough, there's the little town square that they would fly the General Lee through and all that stuff. And I'm like, that's so great. So we went to a coffee place. We're like, is there any place that has like Dukes of Hazzard, memorabilia or anything like that? Is there a museum? The guy goes, try Applebee's. So went to Applebee's, and there was like one window in the Applebee's that was dedicated to it, and that was it. That's it. That's all they had. I thought, you're missing an opportunity.
Yeah.
This is literally the only reason anyone's going to drive over here.
Yeah.
Is for the association.
Do they still have the like jump setup?
No, I mean it was just literally the town square was there.
Okay.
That was synonymous with the show.
I would have liked to maybe go off the dirt ramps and see what you could do.
That's a golden age of television. Basically, anything was just give them a car and go on an adventure.
Yeah.
Fall Guy, Knight Rider, Dukes of Hazzard. Like, it's all just guys' adventures, go.
Even
fancy
Magnum
car,
PI.
Hardcastle and McCormick, Magnum PI.
Yeah.
There's a ton of them.
Why are they remaking Magnum PI?
I think they've already done it, haven't they? I think it's
like happening like
too.
right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's been on for a while.
No, there's some new one where the guy's like, I'm Tom Magnum. They were advertising it during the Super Bowl. Looked awful.
It's not the one that's been airing, so this is the third incarnation of it?
Maybe. It felt like it.
Because
Felt
one
like
of
it
them's
was a
been
new
having
show.
one for, oh, well, maybe there's another run of it. He didn't even own the dang Ferrari.
Just sometimes, though, you don't need to reboot things. Tom
Buddy.
Selleck was perfect.
Nobody has any ideas.
White men can't
We're
jump.
out of ideas as a society. We're
Did you
out
say
of
this?
ideas.
Did you say this, or did I read this on Twitter? That how in the world they didn't cast Mac McClung in White Men Can't Jump?
I didn't say it. I wish I did.
Me
if he
too.
could act
I saw it. And I was
in any
like,
way,
that was a good tweet.
that's the
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Why would they not have done
Yeah. Probably the biggest flaw of the original, and there aren't many, it's a great, great film, is that Snipes is a terrible basketball player. And it's obvious pretty quickly that he's a terrible basketball player.
that? Yeah, but he is clearly he seems like an elite athlete. Like he is in
It's
tremendous
the difference, I think,
condition.
I think it's the difference between being in shape and being an athlete.
It's not
He's
like
not a ball sport player, I would say. I don't know that there's a ton of coordination. I think he's incredibly fit, strong, fast, sure.
Yeah.
But in terms of like do I think like he hit as Willie Mays Hayes? Do I think he actually could hit the baseball? My hunch would be no.
Probably not.
But I think he can run in a straight line fast. And that's two
Definitely.
very different types of athletes.
Agreed. I do think though it was passable as opposed to some of those football ones where you see the guy like that famous clip where the guy is supposed to be the star quarterback and can't throw a football like, at all.
Yeah. The worst one of those that actually made it onto the big screen, or in this case, the small screen, was Danny McBride as Kenny Powers. It gets better as Kenny Powers goes on. First season Kenny Powers, when he's doing the pitching contest at Ashley Schaefer BMW
Yeah, it doesn't look
with
good.
Reg Mackworthy, does not go well.
That clip just came up on my
Does
my
not go well.
Instagram feed the other day. I was dying laughing.
They're running it back.
Why not?
Why not?
There's got to be more adventures.
There's more There's endless. Get me Stevie Janowski back.
Yeah.
Serving things,
Speaking
getting things
of.
done. What a human.
Yeah.
An incredible human. The loyalty.
Our old Stevie. Legend.
He's thriving. He's out. Where is he? North Dakota,
North
South Dakota?
Yeah, but he's about to go. I think he's about to move up
I like
into
it.
a bigger market.
Help that kid anything he needs.
Absolutely.
This is we have a couple of things here from a coaching update standpoint. We spent some time on this yesterday. We're scheduled to interview special team coach Bubba Ventrone today for the special teams coordinator job. And the Giants assistant special teams coach Anthony Blevins is scheduled to interview with the Browns today via Zoom, according to Josina Anderson.
So one of
You
them's
seem
here.
bewildered.
One of them's here, and the other one's
One's
getting
not.
a Zoom interview.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd want to be the person that was here.
I'd want to be the one in the building. Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel like that's a win.
Yeah. Speaking of, we had watched The Bachelor last night, and he got COVID, and so he had to do a cocktail party and then a rose ceremony over Zoom, and it was so brutal. And
Why didn't they just wait 2 weeks?
the best? Hold on,
10 days.
This is
Just
the
sit
best
it
part.
out.
The women were acting as though like he was battling, like
Oh, they played it up?
the most. See, and to some people, COVID is serious. I'm not downplaying
Yeah.
COVID, but
Like he had the
he
bubonic
did not
plague.
have a pre-existing condition that made him susceptible to
Sure.
a significantly bad outcome. But they were acting like he was overcoming some. It was heroic that he was even able to Zoom, and he used a line, and we counted because Kayla and I were getting Miss Kay and I were getting a kick out of it. He told 100%, every single one, I think it was 12 girls, every single one of them, that he can't wait to get out, and he's going to give them the biggest hug ever. That was his like go-to. I just can't wait to give you the biggest hug ever.
Okay.
By definition,
I'd pass.
well, first of all, so would I. By definition, there can only be one biggest hug.
Well, fact. I mean, there's a lot of problems
So
with the
you
statement.
can't give everybody. Not everybody can get the biggest hug ever. There's
No.
only one that will be
One
the
will get
biggest.
it, yep.
Yes, but also, what if they're comparing notes? Oh well, he told me he was going to give me the biggest hug ever. I'm feeling great about myself. Well, he
I
told
think
me
mine
that
was
too.
bigger.
Oh well, yeah, right. And then do we
A
have
little longer?
Yeah.
How long was your
Right.
embrace? 6.5 seconds. Oh,
7.
7.5.
Yeah, 7. No big deal.
Nothing to see here.
By the
I
way,
like that.
how about our? How about one person might even say he hugged me for infinity seconds, twice.
It's unbelievable.
That's my
That's
that like
unbelievable.
That one literally. Made
He's
me,
gone so far.
Yeah. Just keep going.
So far. Keep
going.
How far can you reach? It's just
I've
sensational.
never been wrong except for the one time I thought I might be wrong. I was dying laughing.
It's an unbelievable run right now.
He is my SNL. He is my.
He's as good as
he's my Comedy Central.
The Miracle on Ice was 43 years ago today.
Wow.
We talked about that with McClung with the genuine sports shock surprise thing. There's about 1 billion layers to the Miracle on Ice. The things that I think are most interesting about it is it kind of birthed Al Michaels and allowed for him to be the voice of sports in this country, or one of them, one of the 4 or 5 voices in sports over the last 40 years. Do you believe in miracles? It's one of those things.
You got to talk. We had talked to him. He was right here.
He was right here. Lived it. It's one of those things, much like the parade when the Cavs won, where everybody says they were there. Everybody says they watched the Miracle on Ice. If you're of a certain age, you and I were too young.
I didn't.
We didn't, but nobody did live because it was tape delayed, so nobody saw it live, even though people claim that they did. I think the movie gave it second life.
But back then, you could get away with no spoilers because there weren't
I wonder. You probably heard about it on the radio and were like, "Oh, this is on tonight." I'm guessing that's how it worked.
I think back then they probably were under. It felt like there weren't spoilers about sports, whether it be on the radio or news. They would just be like, "It's airing in prime time, and you're going to watch it."
Well, but the thing that's crazy about it was it would have been able to be live if they wanted to because it was in Lake Placid, New York. So it just must have been played in the afternoon, and they just tape delayed it.
I feel like you would have set that up live for sure.
Same thing with the Lakers' first championship with Magic when he started at center his rookie year. That was tape delayed too.
Could you imagine?
No, it's crazy to wrap your head around it. But it did get me thinking, like, what is the biggest upset in the NFL? Is it still Namath? Is it the Patriots the first time against the Rams? Is it Eli beating the undefeated
Patriots?
Pats? Almost feels like the NFL's impervious to upset because of the road.
Have like college, right, where like Michigan loses to, what was it, like Middle Tennessee State or Appalachian State.
But that isn't even that was at the beginning of the year. Like college football really has no upsets in terms of shocking when it gets to the final. Like people around here will say like 0-2 Ohio State against Miami or 14 Ohio State against Alabama. But in retrospect, you looked at those teams. Those teams were loaded with NFL players. It was Ohio State. You can't be that. That doesn't define Cinderella.
Yeah,
you can do it in individual sports, like Buster Douglas over Mike Tyson. Like that is that
Oklahoma?
type of thing.
Buster Douglas was
the
biggest of my youth.
That was one where you saw that the next day in the newspaper, and that's how I saw it, and that's impossible. That's like Darth Vader getting taken out by a stormtrooper.
Yes,
like doesn't even make sense.
Yeah,
nobody was touching Tyson at that time. There was no way.
No, he was
to ever project it.
He was unbeatable.
There's a couple of Olympic ones. You remember Rulon Gardner? Do you remember that guy?
Was a wrestler?
Yeah, who beat Alexander Karelin, the Russian wrestler who hadn't lost in 13 years and was a 3-time Olympic champion, and Gardner beat him in the gold medal match. Yeah. So there's a few of those out there, but not much.
No.
They're like seismic. The NBA, it's almost impossible because, it's best of 7.
Well, you've had like 8 seeds knock out 1 seeds.
But never for like the title.
Right.
And of course, this wasn't for the title either.
Who's the biggest Cinderella to ever win the NCAA, to ever win March Madness?
I mean, there's some 8 seeds that have won, like Connecticut won as an 8 seed.
Yeah,
but it's still Connecticut. It's probably their 3rd national title by the time they won it.
Who did they have on that team? Was that like?
Oh, that little guard that LeBron wanted. And they ended up drafting him in the
Walker.
first. No, They drafted him in the first round with Miami, and he never ended up being much. Kevin Ollie was the coach. I mean, like UMBC beat Virginia 16-1, and then the next year Virginia won the national title.
Santa Clara, Steve Nash beating Arizona was the first time
it was a big one.
Beat it too.
Yeah, there are some of those. Like Chaminade beat Virginia. Like there's some huge upsets in the NCAA tournament.
I mean, for Connecticut in 2014 to be considered an upset, which you said it was an 8 seed or whatever, they still won the national title in 2011.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
it's still Connecticut.
Yeah, right.
It's not. I mean, like George Mason reached a Final Four.
Right.
So there's some of that, but that's in terms of winning it. Usually it stops well short of that.
Shabazz Napier.
That's it.
They had Ryan Boatwright, Shabazz Napier, Niels Giffey, DeAndre Daniels, and Philip Nolan, and they beat a Kentucky team that was led by Julius Randle, James Young, the Harrison twins, and Dakari Johnson. Yeah. Julius Randle's really the only one of those people that did anything in the NBA.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like Kentucky lost in the Final Four to when they were undefeated to Wisconsin with Comiskey and those guys. We had the Harrison twins. Devin Booker didn't even start on that team. They had Karl Anthony
What
Towns.
about Valvano?
Valvano's the best for the title. You're right. They beat Georgetown. They were like a 6 or 7 seed that year when they beat Georgetown in 84.
They had some
84.
They had some legit. They had a legit guy.
Lorenzo Charles was on that team for them. Yeah, they had a few dudes. That's honestly the bigger one might be Villanova. Villanova beat Georgetown. I'm sorry, Villanova. NC State beat Houston. Villanova beat Georgetown. They shot 60-some% from the field.
85.
Yes, they beat with Patrick Ewing.
Is that an?
It's 83
Ed
NC
Pinckney?
State.
Olden Polonies?
Yeah, it's Ed Pink. I don't know about Polonies, but Pinckney's on that team for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and they shot like 60% in the final. Georgetown was, had played for the national title before and was right there. So there's a couple of them out there that are pretty shocking, but it's hard to find one.
Raleigh Massimino.
Oh, yeah.
Great name he had.
Yeah, very good. Very, very good.
Ed Pinckney, Harold Presley.
And so they had pros.
Dwayne McClain.
Yeah. Yeah. They had a guard who shot lights out in that game, too. Yeah. So some of my first memories of college hoops.
Yeah, Ed Pinckney. That's right. Where did Olden Polonies go? Why did his name pop into my mind?
I don't know. Maybe they played on the same pro team at some point. He lumped them.
Yeah. Ed Pinckney.
All right.
Awesome.
Lots to get to.
T-shirts under jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
That year. Because of hewing and the back knee.
Yeah, is that what it was for, or was that just the rumor that he didn't like that part? That's why he wore that sleeves?
He had so much back knee.
Huh. I always thought that that it helped with like the sweat, too. Like people would wear that. I did a sleeveless underneath a jersey my senior year. No T-shirt.
I think I went pure.
Yeah. Kids are wearing all sorts of stuff now. Sleeves, arm sleeves.
I asked Mike why he had that arm sleeve. He's like, it looks cool, right? Like,
he should have done the one leg sleeve.
Yeah, he did. He only did one arm on his shooting arm. Like, got to keep the elbow.
Keep the elbow warm.
But I wouldn't like that. I like to have a pure,
unencumbered.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are
release.
Next week. We will be at the Combine. There's a lot of rumors out there in terms of what could be happening in the next week in the National Football League. We'll have some fun with that. We'll get Z's. What are we doing? 8 and 7 on your list of the biggest needs for this fine organization. We'll build our All-NFC North, All-NFC North roster. We're doing an All-NFC North roster. We have that to look forward to, which is nice.
Then we're going to do the whole league. Then we're going to do the conferences, and then we're going to do our ultimate team.
Ultimate team. So we're all building towards that. We're off and running. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. For a team of injury lawyers dedicated to every client every day, call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk & Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. NFL news here in the last hour or so. Taylor Lewan released for the Tennessee Titans. You're good. Now you're good.
Released, as well as Robert Woods from the Tennessee Titans as well.
So they're going
a little house clean. They were the oldest offense in the league.
Yeah, start over.
And they gave away their best player.
Well,
not Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, but
player,
I'd argue that A.J. Brown is more important in today's NFL than Derrick Henry is. I don't care how many rushing titles he wins.
Agreed. Probably not more important to the way they're built, but more
they're not
important
built to
overall.
win a Super Bowl.
No, they're not.
They're built to be
But you think
good.
about it like I think a lot of teams are in an interesting spot because, I mean, it kind of goes into the conversation we were having yesterday. Like, how many teams can you really sit there and say they're built to win a Super Bowl? Like, I feel like it's more finite than ever because of the quarterback situation in the AFC. Yeah, I mean, I think you're at a short list.
All right. Teams that are truly built to win a Super Bowl.
Like right now, ready-made.
All right. In the AFC, I feel like I have 6 off the top of my head. Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Chargers, us, Jacksonville. Who am I missing?
Us would take a Watson from 2 years ago. Like that. Elite.
I'm not here for your negativity.
I'm not giving negativity. I'm just saying, like, you need –
I'm projecting Trevor Lawrence stepping forward and being what we thought he would be. We've already seen Deshaun Watson be it in the NFL.
That's true.
Am I missing somebody else? Let's see. In the no Raiders.
No,
Denver.
I think you would – the only –
No.
I think if you want to put us in this – I think we're in a similar spot with – like, is it that far of a reach to say that Denver with a right Russ wouldn't be similar to where we are?
I think we're better than them, but yeah, okay. So you could add Denver. That's 7 in the NFC.
I think the two that are the two variable ones are like Miami because of Tua and the injury. You know, I mean, it's just the facts. I mean, they didn't lose with him. It's like they're built the right way. It's just.
Yeah.
Is he healthy?
And they've got Tyreek Hill and Waddle.
Right.
And the NFC, is there even anybody right now?
Other than Philly?
Philly, yeah.
Everything else is a projection. I mean, Dallas isn't there.
I mean, the Niners, you would say just because they're always right there, but I don't know that they have a franchise quarterback.
I mean, it's just mostly about Kyle and his situation. They got a nice roster. You take quarterback out of it, they probably have the best roster.
There's nobody in the NFC South today.
No.
There is in the NFC North today, nobody. I mean, Green Bay, they just haven't been able to get it done. Rodgers feels like he's not the same guy that
he might be cooked.
East, West. Man, it's amazing that the Rams are not even in the conversation. Seattle, if Seattle gets a quarterback of significance. I know Geno Smith went to the Pro Bowl this year, but it feels like if you dropped one of the franchisee guys in there.
I said this, I can't remember if you were off or not. They are a team, along with Detroit, and I like Goff. I know you like him a lot. Those two teams have the draft capital to go to one if they loved a guy.
Yeah.
Like if Seattle loved Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud or Will Levis or whomever, if they loved one of them and believed he was a dude, they could go right to the top.
Oh, yeah.
And put them on a ready-made roster.
Yeah.
To go now. Like that could be a quick flip.
Yeah.
That's why
I put them there. By the way, speaking of, did you see Arizona? Did you see the videos?
No.
You haven't seen Gannon go around and meet people?
Oh, yeah, awkward.
It's a tough situation.
I'm taking
It is.
Sirianni
was awkward at the beginning as well.
I was going to say, I'm going to reserve the right to judge on that based on my Sirianni, they blew it boy. I didn't say that, but it was a really awkward presser that he had, and then he's been a tremendous leader.
Yeah.
So a lot of different ways to do it. Sometimes it's just awkward. I think in general, like if you're Arizona, because that was all put out by them, right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you be like, maybe they don't need to put this out?
Yeah, I don't know. But he considers, or he said at least right there, that Kyler, he's got his franchise quarterback. I wouldn't put Arizona anywhere near.
They have a huge mess.
Yeah.
A huge mess. Drew Petzing's going to have his hands full.
Yeah, he is.
With that operation.
Yeah. So, I mean,
it's not
even
that many.
So, though, you've got.
We're reaching on some of the AFC teams, I think. In terms of ready-made
you're-
right now, lock, stock, I think for me, there's only 4 teams right now that if they won the Super Bowl is currently constructed without any other additions, run it back. Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Chargers. That's where I would cut it off. And Philly, those 5. Like, run it back. We've got to get better at things. You're going to get to it. 7 and 8. Jacksonville, I think it's close.
Calvin Ridley just dropped onto their team.
I think Jacksonville would be my 5th team in the AFC.
I agree.
I would
That's why
have
I put
them
them there.
Yeah. I think they're right there.
No doubt.
They are. We have our things are very fixable and things that we can certainly get done, but you got to go do them. Whereas those, like, to me, we can't win a Super Bowl with a guy who could stretch the defense. Right now, we don't have that. So Jacksonville, L.A., Cincinnati, Buffalo, Kansas City, they have everything needed. Philly has everything needed. So it brings it back to the Tennessee conversation where you're like, so what's satisfactory? Do you want to be an organization that's relevant, that makes the playoffs, wins your division? Like, do you hang banners for that? That stuff matters.
Sure.
Or is it go win the Super Bowl, or what the hell are we doing, man?
I think it's –
I'm with you.
Yeah.
That you and I view this the same way. I wonder, like, how people in Minnesota view the last 6 years.
I think they're
Would
pleased.
they been in the mix?
I think they've enjoyed it.
I don't know that at any point were they ever like a Super Bowl contender. Didn't feel
this year
like
they
it.
probably felt like they were, even though they were not. But that's a team that if they can address their defense a little bit, they could be there. I mean,
in
it's
that
so
NFC,
sparse in that NFC. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of well, we got there because of the Tennessee question.
Yeah. Right.
Because it feels like they're finally saying, okay, this ain't it.
No, it's not, and I think it begs, like, what do they look like? What does that division look like? Now, Houston's a team that is not ready-made today but has the assets to get very good very quickly. They obviously took themselves out of the first pick, but they have a chance, I think, to get good quickly.
I think of the jobs that were open, that might have been the best.
It was appealing. Carolina, if Frank Reich can get himself a quarterback, you've got a defense. That could be an appealing job too, because that division is right now chaotic at best.
Yeah. Yeah, that one for sure. I mean, Jacksonville's ready.
That's only tough part
South.
about Houston. That's why Houston, you have, I think, a looming juggernaut in the Jags.
Yeah. Well, everybody else, it's absolutely wide open. All right, we did not have Baltimore on that list, by the way. We had them kind of off. Not
I have them
on,
in that
off.
second.
They don't have enough weapons.
No.
I do think they'll be, unfortunately for us, I think they'll be much better offensively with Todd, provided Lamar comes back. But they need weapons for him as well. Right now, at receiver, they've missed on a lot. Tom Pelissero of NFL Network broke down the franchise tag options in regard to Lamar Jackson. Let's have a listen.
All options remain on the table for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, who have been trying to get a long-term deal done for over a year now. There are 2 different types of franchise tags, and which one the Ravens would ultimately apply may give you a window in what direction they anticipate this going. The first one is the exclusive franchise tag, which would prevent Jackson from negotiating with any other team. That would also give the Ravens the ability to potentially shop and figure out what type of trade market there is for Lamar Jackson, although he would have veto power over any trade because he would need to sign that franchise tender to facilitate a deal. The other option is the non-exclusive franchise tag, which would allow Jackson to negotiate with other teams. That too could go a couple of different directions here. If Lamar would end up signing an offer sheet with a different team, the Ravens could match it, basically having let some other team do their dirty work and getting a deal done with Jackson. Or if they did not match it, then they could let him go for 2 first-round picks. March 7th is the deadline for applying that tag. As you mentioned, I would anticipate, and they certainly plan to apply that tag through in the negotiations, but what that means moving forward at that point would be both in the Ravens and in Lamar's hands.
You're back.
I think he stays there. I think they sort it out.
Is Pelissero's ascension from covering the Vikings to what he does now one of the more incredible kind of ascensions? I mean, Schefter went from covering the Broncos to becoming Adam Schefter.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Wendy went from writing high school basketball at the Akron Beacon Journal
with LeBron.
That's
because of
the association
with LeBron.
And then he's great at it.
There's no association. Pelissero. Nobody came out of Minnesota and they're like, oh my goodness, Pelissero.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like that whole business of NFL information guy. because Shefty was at NFL Network. He was at the Denver Post, I'm pretty sure,
Denver.
and then went to – I know he's in Denver. I couldn't remember if it was the Post or the Rocky Mountain News. Then went to NFL Network and then NFL. And NFL already had Clayton and Mortensen on that, and then the professor they put out to pasture, and then they had Mort, but Mort got sick, and so Shefty
with the ESPN,
elevated with ESPN like crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know where Ian Rappaport, where'd he come from?
I don't know, but it feels to me like
I only know Tom, I guess, as an NFL Network guy. I don't know him as a Vikings guy.
Oh yeah, he was like, and when you say it's in like the last 5 years, I'd say he's even past Rappaport.
Rappaport is their Schefter.
Yeah.
But Rappaport's got himself in trouble a couple times for some of his reporting, and Pellissero's ability to navigate the whole he's really good at the contract stuff and digging in and union things and kind of like the bigger fine print legal documents. He's really good at navigating.
Now he's involved in a lot. I feel like he is involved in a lot.
I feel like it's Rappaport and him, and they're kind of 1A.
Yeah, if there's a big game, Pellissero's there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I'm
sometimes
looking
all
to
you need is
see
an opportunity.
where he was.
That's right.
Pelissero in 2013 began covering the NFL for USA Today.
Okay.
He joined NFL Network in July 2017.
Yes, that's
most of these guys come from
year before I started doing this, which is when
he was already
my view of the NFL changed once I started doing this.
So he was already
there at that point.
Yeah.
Nice dude. Always a good dude.
Yeah, very nice.
Around the NFL landscape, 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy postponing his UCL repair surgery to March due to inflammation. That's noteworthy. The Commies are virtually certain to take franchise defensive tackle Daron Payne. We've mentioned him before. The more that we get into this, the more I think D-tackle is going to be piecing it together.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to have to do for now, and you're going to have to bank on Jim Schwartz taking two pretty good balls of clay, one in Jordan Elliott and one in Perion Winfrey, and getting the most out of them while you piece together some guys around them. I mean, I think that's what it's going to be. You know, it's kind of been under the radar. Jeff Howard left to go join the Chargers, but Chris Kiffin, you know, we haven't seen anybody really elevate in that D-line room. And I think that's one of the things that they're certainly going to be looking for. I think that's an important hire, and I think that will be we'll see how that goes. You see what Bill Callahan does for the offensive line. We need to find – and Bill Callahan's are very, very few and far between.
101.
Right, but finding somebody that is of that ilk for the defensive line.
Raiders general manager Dave Ziegler says the team might not have an immediate answer at quarterback during a recent episode of Bussin' with the Boys podcast. Well, no. I mean, I think they're fine with that. Either if they land Rodgers, which you've seen that mocked a ton, or they just hang out in the draft and go on the slow build.
Yeah.
They got all the time in the world. Mark Allen's not paying all these guys.
No.
You know?
He looks
Mark
great.
Davis,
Mark
rather.
Davis with the chrome dome looks great.
Yeah, it's the only way to go.
Yeah.
Only way to go. So did you and I discuss that, or were you off for that one? When that was first unveiled?
I was not here.
Okay.
It's great.
So, I don't think he shaved it. I think he was wearing a piece the whole time, full piece the whole time.
Why?
I've
It's
no
an
clue.
awful piece.
It's an awful piece.
Why would you get a better piece?
When you look closely at that, that is a dome that does not have follicles coming out of it.
I haven't zabrooted it.
Yeah, I have. So I think it's.
It also felt like a dome that was not as pointy as the piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, somebody said, "Dude, what are you doing?"
Yeah, stop. He said, "Okay."
It's
Great.
great.
He's good.
He's
so much better.
Looks like a different human.
Normal human.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, the Prince Valiant.
Yeah.
Is what he was rolling with.
Oh my God, it was just awful.
Yeah, really
I can
was.
imagine the thing sitting that.
Pedro read the Prince Valiant.
His bedside. I don't know.
Feels like it would be in his.
Didn't
he have all the knights and all that?
Oh yeah, he loves knights.
Loves that.
Yeah, medieval time.
Around the sports world, NBA All-Star Game drew 4.6 million on TNT TBS, down 27%. Easily the least watched All-Star Game on record. The prior low was 5.9 in 2021. Look, they didn't try. It took an hour to get the game going. They drafted, and then there were concerts. I mean, it was a really tough watch. Really tough watch.
And it was a farce of a game.
That's what I mean. Nobody tried. Everybody knows kind of what to expect out of it now, where everybody gets 50 and they try to score 190. Nobody play. It's not a game. It's a layup exhibition.
two things that came out of All-Star Weekend: Mac McGlung and The Miz. That's it.
That's it. Yeah, it was all done, all downhill after that. The funny thing about them is, though, the NBA, it would be very simple for that game to be cool again. It used to be. They used to try. There was pride on conferences. Play hard. That's all you got to do. Best players in the world playing against each other. Who's the alpha males in the last 8 minutes? I mean, all you got to do is try, and they haven't.
Like, it meant something to be the All-Star Game MVP.
Yeah, it meant a lot to win it. I mean, it was a big deal. East versus West mattered. I mean, there was real juice to that.
Should they make it be for a home seed in the NBA Finals?
It's going to take somebody it's going to take a force of personality. Like LeBron would have had an ability to do this. It'd take somebody like him to say, because Kobe did this. Like, they tried. There's a video of him going around saying, like CP3 and we never lost an All-Star game. Like, he kept track. Like, when it came time to go, they went. So you need your best players to be like, this matters to me. And there's a few too many. Like, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had this ridiculous quote going around where he was like, well, if you pay us, we'll play. It's like, dude, you are paid. You are compensated. Who the hell are you?
Why don't they make it for the home court in the finals?
Maybe that would matter to people.
But
then I think you got to go back to East-West.
Yeah, it's got to be East-West.
Right now they're drafting.
No, East-West.
East-West.
And it's for home court in the finals.
That's fine. I don't know.
You get people trying
MLB
to win
did that. You would think. You'd think that you'd get people trying.
Yeah.
But some of it was the presentation, too. Like, it took forever to start this stinking thing.
Yeah.
Here's the reality. There are everybody else is grasping at straws. You see what baseball doing? Bigger bases. They're, guys start at second base in extra innings, no shift. Everybody's desperate to try anything to appease the television audience because the ratings are slipping in everything except the NFL and college football. They're impervious. Everything else is off.
I saw some article that they're talking about making some changes in college football.
They're just to make the game go faster.
But some of them aren't great. Some of them would reduce the ability to make comebacks, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's one of it. The big one that I think is most logical is they'll go to the NFL model where a first down, the clock runs. So right now in college football, you get a first down, the clock stops.
No, I know. It's how you can get up and down the field.
Yeah. So they're talking about going to an NFL model where the clock runs.
I never thought it made sense for the clock to stop on first
I think
downs.
some people think, oh, good, because I'm sick of watching Ohio State Rutgers that lasts 4.5 hours. The game's still going to last 4.5 hours. They're just going to add more commercials.
More money.
That's all it is. Tails wagging the dog, man, on that thing. Speaking of that, the pride of your youth, the Pac-12 Conference, potentially could be going with Apple TV Plus as its exclusive distribution partner. I will say this. If they do this, they're no longer a Power 5. It's over. You're done. They will be in a closet playing games. They're not going to be a Power 5 conference anymore if they do that.
They aren't.
They're barely.
They've been pillaged.
Hanging on by a thread.
And you creds won't take Arizona. Come on.
So what's happening is the four corner schools, Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, Colorado, are being pursued doggedly by the Big 12.
Okay.
And the problem is the other 6 Pac-12 schools have no homes. So the 2 Oregons, 2 Washingtons, and the 2 Bay Area schools have nobody wants them.
Nobody wants Cal and Stanford?
Mm-mm.
And nobody wants Oregon with Nike?
Mm-mm.
That seems wild to me.
Yeah.
Are they just no good anymore?
No, they're good. They don't add anything from a TV revenue. They don't generate revenue TV. There's not a big enough audience.
Stanford feels like a school that should be in like the Big Ten.
Sure. And I think there's academics in the Big Ten that would like it. But the television networks and the executives that are driving the sport right now, they don't add anything from an eyeball standpoint. And the voting members of the Big Ten are saying, why are we going to split our piece of the pie less for somebody who will not enhance the amount of money we get? So that's why they've stood
Arizona is money. Write that down.
Write that down. All right. All right, coming up. What do we got here? Oh, best fits, free agents. We'll tell you who ESPN has as our best fit coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Cheering your Cleveland Browns to help with your favorite four-legged companion. Barking Backers, presented by Milk-Bones, the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs.
Oh.
You're up.
Yep.
2023 NFL free agency. Best team fits for top 50 available players. We are number 11 on this for best fits for players, with Jesse Bates, the safety out of Cincinnati, coming in as he's that deep center fielder free safety.
Yeah, he is that type of a player. 14 career interceptions in 5 pro seasons, 4 interceptions last year. He's in line for a long-term deal. He is that true free safety that you would want, a guy who can play split field, or he can play that single high center fielder for you. And Jim Schwartz plays a lot more single high than what we saw under Joe Woods. So he's somebody that makes a lot of sense. It's been linked here. That would require, without question, the release of John Johnson. And we'll see if that's the direction that the Browns ultimately end up going. But that's one that's been linked quite a bit to the Browns. So we'll see how that ultimately plays out. Some other safeties, there are a lot of them. Devin McCourty is in the last year of his deal. He will be a free agent. Jordan Poyer, former Brown, would love to see him come back home. He certainly could play that role for the Cleveland Browns. So it'll be interesting to see. There are a lot of good safeties in this free agent class, and how that all shakes out will be, and what direction the Browns decide to go, I think will be very, very interesting. And listen, it never hurts if you're able to take somebody from your opponent and put them, a division rival, and put them on your team. That's always a nice thing. But that's the only one, by the way, of the top 50 that is linked to the Browns.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati has 3 linked to them, including retaining their own in Von Bell. But yeah, just the one in, and I think this is we touched on this a little bit yesterday. We have a lot of money allocated.
Yep.
We're paying our guys. Our guys are on their second contracts, and we're paying those contracts. Cincinnati is not there yet. That's how they can be this active in free agency. They're not having to pay Burrow yet, although expectation is they have a deal with him before the new league year, is kind of what everybody you talk to down there seems to think, in terms of a long mega extension.
Sure.
But they don't have to do T. Higgins. They don't have to do Jamar Chase. They can kind of run all those guys back as is if they choose to, and they can still be very aggressive on the defensive side of the ball, which they might need to do. They've got some positions that they need to kind of shore up a little bit on that side, as they have some movement potentially there, including with Bates, but they're preparing for him. They drafted Dax Hill out of Michigan last year for that role, and I think they feel comfortable with him. We will have to be judicious.
Yeah. Yes,
and
we will.
Decide where that money is going to be spent. Weigh the idea of, do we spend for this position need in free agency, or do we hope we can get it in the draft? We haven't gotten into this yet. We'll get a better feel for it next week. Like, are there burners that are day 2 guys at receiver in this draft? There's not much of a free agent receiver core to choose from. It's pretty thin.
McCole Hardman is probably the guy that would make the most sense for
Yeah.
the Browns. He was very productive for really every year that he's been in Kansas City. This year had 6 touchdowns, I think, in 7 games before he suffered that injury. Just had surgery, represented by the agent to the Stars, by the way.
Oh, nice.
And he's somebody that I think would make a lot of sense for the Browns in terms of what he gives you vertically and horizontally with speed and creating space. So he's a name to keep an eye on. But there isn't, like that number 1 guy. I still am of the opinion. Nathan Zagura. And I know he hasn't played in a while, but if you brought in a McCole Hardman in free agency, I'm also bringing in Will Fuller, because he's on the street, and he and Deshaun have a great chemistry and connection. You can't go back and watch Houston Texans tape without seeing Deshaun Watson making big plays to Will Fuller. And I have no idea where he's at, if he's even going to stay healthy. But even if you got a half a season out of a guy like Will Fuller and it helped Deshaun, why not?
I couldn't agree with you more. After watching the Super Bowl, I'm like, give me weapons.
Sure.
Not 1, 2. Give me them. As many as are available. Get it done. You got to have them.
Listen, the Chiefs are not Super Bowl champions, and they paid $10 million a year for Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but Marquez Valdes-Scantling is a guy that is big and has speed. And in the game against the Bengals, when every other receiver on the team got hurt, he kind of carried them through the air. What could it hurt? If Will Fuller is not what he used to be, then he doesn't make your team. But if Will Fuller is, he can also kind of help, I think, guys in the room understand, what Deshaun likes. This is how, we played together. I just think there's a lot of value in that, and that's a total roll of the dice, but it feels like it's a no-risk roll of the dice.
Yes.
He wasn't in the league last year.
Correct.
So he's not going to be expensive.
Oh, I think exhaust all options at weapons, whatever that is. Draft, free agency, and guys on the street, trade, anything that comes available where you can buoy that, do it.
And if Anthony Schwartz surprises us, great. But you have to go in there with no expectations whatsoever. Like, you cannot count on Anthony Schwartz being a part of your passing game.
No, I think you're probably, you're probably at the point with him where, like, he's going to have, like, the onus is on him to make the team. I mean, it's been 3 years, so it's I don't think you can count on it at all. I think you need a big improvement there on that side, and there's ways to do it, but it's not as straightforward as it has been. I mean, you think about the year we got Jack Conklin or any of those type of deals that have been done. It was
Hooper and John Johnson.
It was like wish list,
boom,
tackle,
boom, boom.
tight end, safety, boom, 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 nailed them. And not going to be that way this year. It's going to be very different. You have to be very, very judicious and strategic with how you try and fill these.
We got to restructure some things, and then we'll have a little bit more, swing at the plate there. But that's always, restructuring is still just kicking it down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at some point, you do have to pay the bill.
Yeah.
Now, the good news is the salary cap, it feels like, is going to keep going up and up and up and up rapidly.
Yes, no end in sight to that. Coming up in the second hour of the program, we continue our countdown of the 10 biggest needs for the Browns this offseason. We get to number 8 and number 7 on that. We'll build our NFC North roster as well. You have that to look forward to, which is nice. You'll see Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Now we're here, Cleveland Browns Daily on a First Friday. Renew your home for the last time, with Renew Home Exteriors, siding and roofing products. They're there for you. Don't spend all day with high-pressure sales guys. The team at Renew Exteriors won't waste your day with hours of negotiating the price of your project. It's just a simple, upfront, fair price. They're going to make your project very easy for you. Modernize your home with premium siding ranging in every style and color. Renew Home Exteriors, superior products, superior service. Visit RenewEstimate.com for more. As we continue our list, Z's list, of ranking the top 10 biggest needs for the Browns this offseason. Let's review and go through 10 and 9, and then today we will get to 8 and 7, Dr. Z. You're not on.
All right, number 10. Yeah, see? How fun was that?
It's fun.
Yeah. You can, if you want, you can do it
I
sometimes.
can do it too, yeah. Thanks.
Number 10 was a true slot corner. We've got 3 great corners. They are mostly outside corners. Greg Newsome, yes, can play in the slot. He has expressed a desire not to play in the slot. I don't know where that leaves us in that room, but we will, I'm sure, get that all sorted out. But I think still having a true one, even for depth purposes, is important. And then a true center field free safety. We talked Jesse Bates. Epps, who played in Philly last year, played very well, 94 tackles for them, was in the mix as a safety. He's somebody that perhaps Jim Schwartz obviously would know from his time there. So that's another name I would bandy about. So those are where we start in the defense backfield. Today I got 2 more for you, and they're both going to be, believe it or not, on the offensive line.
I like it. Let's go. Number 8.
Step forward by Jed Wills. You're the 10th pick in the draft, brother. Like, it's now or never. There he goes. Look at him. There he goes. Oh, yeah. Just thriving.
Always.
I think that is.
Knows
nothing
nothing else.
That is a big, big deal.
I think one of, if you think about the excitement around the drafting of Jed Wills, how excited the Hoff was at the drafting of Jed Wills.
Yeah.
If you think about Jed Wills as a rookie, what we saw over the course of that season and how quickly he made the transition from right to left side, it was something in camp where we didn't know if he'd get there. And then he did. And then there's been a leveling off. And he was drafted to be dominant, and we haven't seen that. And the guy drafted behind him is dominant, in Tristan Wirfs. And Andrew Thomas has been great. So he's got all the tools. I suppose it's whether it's priority or whatever, it just needs to manifest.
Yeah, it's been consistently what I would say is mediocre. As a rookie in 2020, he played 1,025 snaps. He gave up 4 sacks and 20 pressures that year. His pass blocking efficiency was 97.7. His pass block grade was a very solid 77.6, which was top 20 among all tackles in the NFL. Overall grade at Pro Football Focus was 62.6. In 21, he was injured, missed some time. His overall grade was better, 66.1, due to an improvement as a run blocker, but his pass blocking decreased a little bit. His efficiency dropped to 96%. He gave up 5 sacks and 28 pressures and 700 snaps. This year, his grade was 62.9 overall. His run blocking decreased back down to 55. His pass blocking up from last year, but not where it was in his best season, was still under the 70 threshold. 6 sacks and a team-high 41 pressures allowed. He also had 10 penalties on the team in the season as well. So it was not a great year for Jed Wills, but it was marred by inconsistency. He could be terrible as he was against Baltimore in Week 7 and then brilliant the following week in Week 8 against the Cincinnati Bengals. He had kind of that back and forth, doesn't allow a pressure at all against the Chargers, follows that up the next week against New England and Matt Judon, 6 pressures and a sack. It just was not there week in and week out, and that's what's so, I think, frustrating is his best game. Houston, he was terrible in Houston. 5 pressures, one of his lowest grade of the season as a pass blocker, but the game before that and the game after that were his 2 best of the season. So it's there.
Yeah.
Just do it consistently. You've got to do it consistently. You did it against Tampa and Cincinnati, teams that can rush the passer, obviously, but we need it to be more consistent from Jed Wills. And so I think that is a major step. I fully expect the Browns to pick up his 5th-year option. That's due by, I believe, May 1st. It's some date like that. It's coming
in
up.
The spring.
I feel like they will pick up his option. We need him to be that guy that is in the discussion as being a Pro Bowl tackle. That's not even been anything that's been bandied about at all.
No.
And we'd love to see that.
You need to.
Need to see it.
Need to see it. It's time for some of these draft picks to play to where they were drafted.
Yes.
And he's at the very, very top of that list. Next is number 7. Number 7.
Number 7 for me is, and if it can be done at a reasonable price, bring back Ethan Posick. Ethan Posick, former second-round pick, mountain of a man, was phenomenal for the Cleveland Browns. His grade of 79.0, number 3 among all centers, behind only Creed Humphrey and Jason Kelsey, both of whom would have been Pro Bowlers had they not been playing in the Super Bowl.
That's right.
He was excellent. And now you do have, the guy that beat him out last year, Nick Harris, beat him out for that starting job. This is like a fly-by day.
It's like 5 times by.
Yeah, 5-time day.
He's got all these.
Yeah, made you go for your hair there.
Yeah, I wanted to give him what he wanted. I think he was hoping for a little of that.
Yeah.
He wanted that.
Well, he got it.
So,
Nick Harris beat him out. Was going to be the starter, suffered the injury down in Jacksonville, but Posick played so well. And I really think that he is someone that you want to get back on this team. Obviously, you can't spend a ton of money to do it. You already have too much money tied up on the interior of your offensive line. And if somebody's going to offer him big money elsewhere, you're going to have to let him walk. And you count on Bill Callahan. But I would love Posick back, obviously, at the right price for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you draft Nick Harris to be, the eventual successor to J.C. Tretter. He wins that job, and then Posick comes in, and we never got to see Nick even do the job.
Yep.
But Posick was so good. It was just a stunning thing to be able to see it. And, yeah, so you have that higher than Jed, a higher priority than Jed.
To me, these ones, it really kicks into gear in terms of have to happen. Would start with, for me, the next 2. But it might be Jed Wills is still a fine starter.
Right, correct.
We don't know who would be starting at center without Ethan Posick. I would imagine it'd be Nick Harris, but unfortunately is not proven to be able to.
We've never seen him play.
We've never seen it.
He was thrown into action in the COVID year with JC, right, at Green Bay. Didn't he get thrown into that game?
Yeah, and played well.
Yeah.
Very well. But we haven't seen it over the season. We haven't seen his ability to stay healthy for a season.
The size is real.
Sure.
The size is real.
Posick is a monster.
No such concerns there with Ethan Posick. All right, we'll hit 6 and 5 coming up tomorrow. Go ahead, Mr. Z.
Just on the top of my head. We were a top 10 offense with Jed Wills playing as Jed Wills did last year and with Jacoby Brissett. And Jed Wills wasn't awful by any stretch of the imagination.
No,
he's a solid starter.
You just want him to be a Pro Bowl type player, like a guy who can be a second-team All-Pro at some point in his career. That's what you're hoping for,
Let me see where I was trying to figure out where he graded amongst all tackles last year. Just overall. Of all tackles who played 50% of the snaps last year, Jed Wills was 44th. So there are 64 starting tackles. So he's an average starting tackle. We want him to be better than that. And I think that should be the expectation that he is better than that. That's what he was drafted to be. But it's not like you can't win with him. We were still a top 10 offense with him. A guy that we hear a lot about, Andrew Wiley with Kansas City, who was in the Browns organization. He was 46th, and they won the Super Bowl and won it. Jonah Williams, 48th with Cincinnati. It's not that's not the key to us winning or losing. That's why I think I had Posick above it, is that we can still be an incredibly good offense with Jed Wills. You just would like to be the guy who was picked 10th overall. You'd like him to be in the conversations for Pro Bowls. That's all.
And it's just that his class has those guys with Wirfs and Thomas.
Yeah.
So that's the deal there. All right. Coming up next, 10 crazy NFL offseason predictions. Have a little fun with that. Coming up next, you listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. One of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL. Join the Browns season ticket member waitlist today for the best chance at securing tickets for all home games in future seasons. Don't miss out. Go to clevelandbrowns.com/tickets.
What are you doing?
Or call 440-891-5050. Get it back up.
So I wasn't even on. So what's your problem?
I wasn't even
What are
on.
you doing?
It's our thing.
What do you do
like
here?
I like it.
What don't I do here?
Well,
Yeah,
you
it's
work
fair.
out a lot.
It's fair.
I know that.
It's fair. What don't you do here? You would say that you could make an argument that he is the only talent.
Right, which is not good,
That's not good.
according to Gibbe. Hurtful.
Sad.
Hurtful
It's not
words.
great.
It's sad.
Hurtful
Hate
words.
to see it.
We could do better.
Hate to see it. Oh, boy. Not true.
I
Just the
rescind that
cackling.
comment.
Cackling of Gibbe. All right.
I just wanted to look. That's all.
So evil.
All right. This is fun. CBS Sports. This is a
It's our boy Jordan.
Jordan.
Who's
He gets
So-
loose.
yeah, he's been off
when,
the reservation.
when
a
we
few
were
times.
when we were putting this together, the thought was, you and Zagura have talked about this thing or not a
Sure.
thing.
Yeah,
And I
right.
was like, I don't know how it would
I
go.
helped
I don't
bring
know
it to
how it
Mo's
would
show.
play
Yeah,
out.
I was like, you should do that.
Well, you could do it on this. You could go through all 10 of these things and say, would this be a thing or not?
Thing
Yeah,
and
that's what
not
I've done.
thing. That's why I was like, why don't we do that
All right.
today? Because it's a perfect first Friday segment.
I love it. I love it. We'll do it right now.
We
Do you
will
want to
live.
MC it or do you want us to MC it?
I can MC it if you want.
Yeah, I think that would be the way to do it is you would read it, and then we would say if it was a thing or not a thing if it happened.
I wish we had like a side, like a stick that had on one side said thing, one side said another thing. We had to pull it up, and we could,
Like,
if we were on TV.
If we were on
yeah,
TV.
yeah.
Yeah, we could. That'd be good. Yeah, I like
Hey, man,
it.
baby steps. Let's just see if this segment works.
It'll work.
It's gonna work, dude.
I have a feeling
Thank
it's
you,
been
Pauls.
tested in other markets.
Yeah.
Allegedly. This is 10 crazy NFL offseason predictions from some guy named Jordan on CBS.
This is our guy. This guy gets loose.
Well, boy, does he. So I guess I'll ask thing or not a thing as he counts down the 10 crazy. Number 10, Jimmy Garoppolo signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bishop, I'll start with you since you birthed this idea.
Sure.
Thing or not a thing?
I'm going to say that this is not a thing because if they signed him, they still have they're still in salary cap jail. They got
They're
a
still
lot
not
that
good.
has to happen. Now, for Jimmy, it would be, it'd be crazy to have him follow Brady. It would be nuts. He would thrive in Tampa, obviously. I mean, anytime I hear Tampa, I just think of Stevie saying, Tampa.
Yeah.
He's so excited when Kenny's going to go play for the Tampa Bay Rays. I can't say it. how
When does
he
that
said
show
it, I'm
come back?
sorry.
Like a year
not
from
soon
now?
enough. Not soon enough. I'm going to go not a thing.
I also had not a thing here. He's not following Brady again. It's a sinking ship. It's not a desirable place. You've got Mike Evans, and by the way, what is Mike Evans like? Downfield vertical passing. That's not what Jimmy Garoppolo does. I don't even think the fit makes a ton of sense, to be honest with you. I think Jimmy Garoppolo makes more sense now. I think they're going to get away, obviously, with LaFleur moving on, get away a little bit from what Kyle was doing with the Jets, but I don't think he makes a ton of sense with the Buccaneers, so I would say not a thing.
Number 9 in this list, Derek Carr signing with the New York Football Jets. Zagura, thing or not a thing?
Thing. Now, if I'm him, I'm trying to get into the NFC and figure out what I can do there, but I think that's a thing. They're an excellent defense under Robert Saleh. They have weapons out wide. Garrett Wilson, the offensive rookie of the year. They've got Elijah Moore. They're getting Breece Hall back.
Who's their new OC? Remember they
Good
fired
question, yeah. They fired Minnie LaFleur.
Yeah.
They fired.
Why would like it was his fault?
It was not his fault.
Yeah, look what
Nathaniel
he's-
Hackett, which is why
Well, there
why
we
people
go.
were saying, "Oh, that."
How do
you
we
know,
miss that?
I should remember
What
that.
would you see with what he's done? That, oh yeah, let's run that back.
'Cause maybe he's a good coordinator and not a good head coach.
But remember, he wasn't even that. He had to bring in some. It was Kubiak's kid who was running the plays. They had another.
Well, they had to get rid of him.
Kubiak was
Yeah.
running the plays.
That's when they
and
actually got better.
They had somebody else who was like running the because he couldn't handle like in-game situations.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah,
Daniel
I think it's a thing there for Derek Carr.
Somehow the Jets find a way to shoot themselves in the foot by bringing in Nathaniel Hackett.
I think it's a thing as well. I think if they added Derek Carr, they're the second best team in the AFC East because we just don't know about to his health.
Right.
It validates them. It allows. I think the Jets, with their history, would kill for like a 5 to 6 year run like the Vikings have had with Cousins. I don't know that. Of course, they want to win a Super Bowl, but I don't know that there's something that it's like Super Bowl or bust. Like if they could be relevant for 5 or 6 years, I think they do cartwheels.
Like when Sexy Rexy was the head coach, and they went through what did they do, 3 or 4 year run?
Yeah, with Sanchez and Mr. Zagura.
Somebody tweeted PFT commenter and Big Cat.
Okay.
And said, false alarm. Mark Davis still has his hair. They're eating in an eatery, and Mark Davis is in the background.
He put it back on?
With a full...
He put the piece back on?
Yeah. So
No!
Unless it could be an old picture. I mean, we're going off of Big Cat right now.
No!
But nonetheless...
Big Cat's reputable.
Right now and find out.
He's super reputable.
Yeah.
All right, number 8 on Thing or Not a Thing. Tony Pollard draws major interest in free agency and ultimately leaves the Cowboys. Bishop, thing or not a thing?
Not a thing. They're not he's better than Zeke. They're not really a contender, in my view, either way for the Super Bowl. And when he says major interest, it makes believe that people would pay a lot, and I don't think that they will. Isn't he coming off of a very serious injury as well? Pollard? Didn't he get hurt at the end of last year?
Yeah, but I don't think it's not serious.
Not serious? Okay.
No.
Yeah, I'm going to say
Sport Track projecting a 23-year, $25.40 million deal, average annual value of 8.
He says higher, surpassing 10? No. I don't think
they're thinking that he could get franchise tagged.
Yeah.
I think he will get a lot of interest. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that people will think that he might be the best of the running backs in free agency, and especially at the value point. Josh Jacobs, who just led the league in rushing, is going to want a certain amount of money. Saquon Barkley is going to want a certain amount of money. Tony Pollard might be the best deal and maybe the most talented. He's very versatile as a runner and a receiver. He is. The fact that they still force Zeke down people's throats to me is wild.
Yeah.
I really think that I think that Tony Pollard is, yes, I think this is a thing. I think Tony Pollard will draw major interest and ultimately could get franchised because it's only $10 million.
Yeah, it's not breaking the bank.
Mm-mm.
Now you got to deal with
you got to get rid of
Zeke's contract at that point.
Yeah, they got to get rid of that.
Number 7, Dan Snyder sells the team to Jeff Bezos, Jay-Z, and Matthew McConaughey. Zagura, thing or not a thing?
No chance.
Boy, CBS Sports going off the rails
Over
here.
his dead body.
I'm calling it a thing, baby. I love this group.
Sure you
I like
are.
the idea of
I
Bezos,
love it too,
Jay-Z,
but
and
like,
McConaughey.
There's zero chance Dan Snyder sells to Bezos.
I don't think the owners would allow
They are, but there are many suitors. Like he'll have the ability to pick who he wants to sell to. He's not selling to the guy who spent the last 3 years investigating him at the Washington Post.
I don't know.
No chance. I love it, but no.
I like it.
I'd love it.
Wishful
no.
thinking.
Yeah.
Think.
I also think NFL owners, who are many of them are billionaires, none of them want somebody who this far usurps their wealth in their club. Not a thing.
On to number 6.
That has to be scary.
On the top 10 crazy NFL predictions, Odell Beckham Jr. re-signing with the New York Football Giants. Bishop, thing or not a thing?
I think it feels like realistic thing. Seems like it
That's
could
the
happen.
thing. It was even talked about
Yeah.
last year.
I think there's a
he
very
wanted
good
to go
chance
back
it
to
happens.
the Giants.
Very good chance.
I think he
would
loves
like
New
to do
York.
it.
Yeah.
Checks every box.
Yeah.
They're not. They're contenders. They're a playoff team. Daboll seems likable. Yeah, feels like
Coach of the Year.
Checks every box.
Up next, number 5, Lamar Jackson demands a trade. Zagura, thing or not a thing?
I put not a thing. I don't know what's going on there, but when you get, he wants fully guaranteed. Well, when you get the exclusive franchise tag, that is fully guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he will play that out, but it will be a season of turmoil again. I don't think they get a long-term deal done. I think that, but
Yeah, he'll sit out all of December again. It'll be
he
great.
might demand a trade. You have people right now. You have a lot of talking heads saying until he gets his long-term contract, he shouldn't play. I don't know that works.
I don't think it does either. And they are just too damn stable an organization to have this be that big of a soap opera.
Yeah.
I've always thought that it would be short-term, big money, 3 years, 200 or something like that. Huge year by year, all guaranteed. I mean, to me, that feels like where they're headed.
Yep.
On to number 4 in terms of the NFL crazy offseason predictions. Aaron Rodgers returns to the Packers. Bishop, thing or not a thing?
Well, I think it's...
Isn't he under contract still?
He is. He's under contract with Green Bay. He was on McAfee yesterday and said, I'm not talking about any of it after coming out of the... He was in
Hello,
isolation.
darkness, my old friend.
He wouldn't talk about his experience.
He wouldn't talk... No, he would, I don't know if he talked about that, but he wouldn't talk about like his future or what he was thinking or anything like that. Nothing would surprise me. Like, this thing was far closer to a divorce, it felt like a year ago, than it does now. I think you could talk me into anything here. And I saw the reporting out of Green Bay. There was a guy who's covered the Packers forever who said they're sick of him. He's been sick of them. They're sick of him. Who knows? Nothing would surprise me. If you're him, what's a better football situation? Unless you just don't want to live in Green Bay anymore after all this time, which I don't blame you. But, like, just from a football perspective, like, Christian Watson came on.
Yeah, agreed.
The NFC is not great.
No.
Didn't they redo Aaron Jones's contract?
They did.
Jeff Darlington on ESPN today says that Aaron Rodgers ultimately will end up back with the Packers, according to his sources.
It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Interesting. Darlington's gone from the Brady camp to the Rodgers camp.
There you go.
Yeah. So I said on this one, thing.
Yeah, feels like an accurate thing. Could happen.
On to number 3.
Jordan Love's never going to play.
Never.
Zagura, this one is for you. Oh, you know what? I should make this for Bishop because I feel like this is more of a college football-ish question. So we'll start with Bishop. Florida's Anthony Richardson, one of the most intriguing quarterbacks in this class, falls to the end of the first round. Thing or not a thing?
It's pretty amazing because CBS Sports today did a mock draft that had him going number 1 overall. So that's the deal here.
That was Trapazzo that had that?
I'm pretty sure. Anthony Richardson is supremely gifted. It is very much a Malik Willis situation where incredible gifts. He had a game against Oregon at the beginning of last year where you thought, good Lord, this kid could win the Heisman. But he's wildly erratic. So I think it's very possible that he could fall all the way out of the first round by the time all is said and done.
Is he coming out early?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I mean, he's in the mix in the first round.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to play school. So...
I put this was the thing because it's
in play.
It's in play that he could fall. Yeah. Somebody will take a gamble on him. It wouldn't surprise me to see him be drafted by a team that has a quarterback.
Yeah, he's not going next year.
Right.
We'll go through some of the latest mocks that are out this week tomorrow. But there's some crazy things going on. Up to number 2. The NFL makes roughing the passer even worse. Zakura, thing or not a thing?
I hope it's not a thing. So I'm going to say that because I want to speak it into existence. They've got to get this right. You can't, like the Chris Jones one I remember on Derek Carr's being egregious. There have been so many bad ones. Like, just get it right. Fix it. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous, and it changes the game.
So they're saying what his prediction is the NFL is indeed going to make the penalty reviewable, and he thinks that would make it a disaster. I think that might clear it up.
It should clear it up.
If anything, it would make it clear it up. So I'm going to say not a thing because I don't think it'll happen. And if this does happen, then that would be a thing.
Yep.
I think you want it once right.
Just get it right.
It's interesting because he says, remember when the NFL made pass interference reviewable for 1 year in 2019? Only 13 of 81 pass interference challenges were successful per SI.com. There were 2 reasons why, in my opinion. 1, I hypothesized the league wanted officials to lean toward their original call, and 2, slowing down these kinds of plays in the review process really muddled things.
Wouldn't everybody sign up for a roughing the passer that I think, for me, it would do 2 things. No use of helmet to helmet from defensive player to quarterback. Don't spear. Same thing as in receiver, everything else. And stay off their legs. Like, to me, anything other than that.
If you hit them in the strike zone, fine.
Fine.
Like, no hand to the head, too, even though that's hard. But I would look for if it's like a glancing.
I don't even mind hand to the head, like, as long as it's not
because you're trying to hit the ball.
As long as you're batting at the ball. Like, to me, like, this whole.
It needs to be rough.
It needs. We know what it is. Like.
And it can't be late. It can't be like.
Of course, that's late hit. Like, that's 15 yards. But in terms of roughing the passer, stay away from their knees and legs. Don't spear with the helmet. Hit them anywhere from the thigh to the shoulder pads, including
and you
the
can
arms,
land on them. It's
and
tackling.
Land on them. Not penalty.
Yeah.
The idea that a defensive player is supposed to somehow in midair not land on a quarterback or drive him to the ground is nonsense.
No, they got to get rid of that. It's stupid.
Awful.
It is stupid.
Final one.
You can't. I think if you pick somebody up and then tried to drive them in, like where it was excessive force, like where it was obvious that it was an extra move, but if you just tackle them and fall on them because you tackled them, that's not roughing the passer.
Yeah, but even the one that you're describing is roughing anyway.
I was going to say, was Brock
Right?
Purdy roughed when he got hurt in the NFC Championship game? Was that a drive?
He was throwing
You're
the ball
talking about
and
like
popped
the
his elbow.
Turkey Jones, Terry Bradshaw situation,
Yeah.
like that thing. But
That's
that would be
roughing.
roughing anyway,
Yes,
right?
Right. Should be.
So it's not like if that
It
happened
should
to a
be.
position
That's a good
player.
point by using her. It should be in today's NFL.
Yeah, I mean, like if that was a position player, it would be that way too, right?
Yeah.
If you grabbed a position player and pile drived them by their head, that'd be a penalty. So it's some common sense.
Final one on the top 10 craziest NFL offseason predictions from CBS Sports. Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow reset the QB market. Zagura, thing or not a thing?
Yeah. Thing. Makes perfect sense to me.
Is
Those are
it
going
those
to be the next
two, or
two.
is it Lamar that resets?
No.
It'll be those two.
No, it'll be those two.
I think. How do you define? Are we defining it as they'll both make more than $230 million guaranteed?
They're both just going. They're
Or are
going
we
to
gonna say that they're gonna have the most highest average?
According to him, the other
Average
part of
annual
the part of this prediction is picking both to surpass Aaron Rodgers' annual $50.27 million deal.
That I believe. I do not think that it'll be important for Burrow and probably not Herbert that they get $230 million guaranteed like Watson got. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if both of these guys, I think it would be smart for both of them to do a similar thing like with Watson, where you go, or like I outlined with Jackson, where you go a shorter term, huge per year, guaranteed,
Yep.
so that you can get another bite at the apple again. Like redo this again. Like they're going to redo the Mahomes contract. These are all going to get redone. So I think I don't think it'll be the 230, but I think one of them will be the highest paid quarterback.
It's interesting. In the article, he references Spot Track again, and he has Herbert's projected salary of 42.4, Burrow's at 44. Those contracts wouldn't even break into the top 5 of highest paid quarterbacks.
Yeah. No, I think both happen. All right, good job out of you, Gibby.
Well done, gentlemen.
All right.
Good idea, though.
Yeah, very good. I mean, it's all of us. It's a team approach here, kids. All-NFC North roster as we build towards our All-NFL roster. Coming up next, you'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. for the All-NFC North team. And this goes back to the conversation we had about Cousins. It's very doable. I'm sorry, Rodgers. Very doable in the NFC. This division is just not great. It is the NFC North. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Your quarterback on the NFC North.
Kirk Cousins is my quarterback in the NFC North over Aaron Rodgers. Last year, Kirk Cousins was pretty darn good. Did go to the Pro Bowl, as we've talked about. But Captain Kirk was
so
pretty
did Tyler
elite.
Huntley.
We're going to live in a world where that didn't happen.
I think we're done using the Pro Bowl as any sort of measuring stick.
Cousins last year, 13-4, 66% completions, 4,547 yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 picks, which is actually the career high in terms of picks for him, 29 touchdowns. Last 3 years, though, at least 4,200 yards, 66% completions, an average of over 32 touchdowns, and 11 picks a season, quarterback rating in the hundreds. He's very solid in that regard.
I would, if I was picking a team, I'd take Rodgers every day.
This is based on last year.
It's based on all NFC North teams. So I think we're just picking a team that can go play in a mythical game. So I'm taking Rodgers.
No, it's just like the end of the year awards for the AFC North.
What is it?
We're
is
not
it end of the year awards, or we?
We're not basing
where
on
we are?
Their potential.
I thought it was based on the year that you had.
Based on the year that
this
you
year,
had.
the 2022. This is the 2022 All AFC North team.
All right, now I got to see if there's a way that I can convince myself that Jared Goff had a better year than Cousins.
He didn't. What was wrong with what I just gave you right there?
It's fine. I just think Cousins is just. There's nothing. It's just. What did Goff do?
Not that. I'm excited for Goff next year, though.
Goff was pretty good.
I will never.
4,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 picks,
Okay.
66% completion.
Okay.
I'm going Goff. I'm anti-Cousins. Give me Goff. All right. Running back.
So we don't have a consensus QB is what you're telling me.
Do we have to?
No.
Yeah, we do.
We do?
Yeah.
Can't you just come with me on Goff? You like him.
California kid.
Yeah. It's valedictorian in summer school anyway. He wore 16 for Joe.
All right, hold on a second. Go back and give me those numbers again.
Goff was 44,
hold on.
65%, 44, 38, 29 touchdowns, 7 picks.
What was his rating and what was his QBR?
The rating 99.3, QBR 61.1.
All right. Cousins.
Pro Bowler, by the way.
Pro Bowler 92.5 and 49. All right, fine. Go.
Goff wins.
Good.
Goff it is.
Goff. All right, running back. Jamal Williams had like 75 touchdowns.
That's going to be the answer. It is going to be Jamal.
Are we going to go
Williams.
one or two of them?
I think we just had one, right? We did 11.
We just did one.
Yeah.
Did Jamal Williams really have the best year of all these run? He probably did.
He did.
But he was short. I mean, what's his yards per carry? I bet it's not great.
No, I think he's much better than you would have thought.
Is he?
Yeah. Jamal Williams had a solid season. The Lions just taking over, by the way, for us on this one. I got to just break it down to get this all sorted for the AFC.
Yeah, get it all sorted. He had 4 yards a carry, 17 touchdowns, 1,066.
17 touchdowns,
Williams.
my friend.
Yeah, he was a red zone guy for them. He did a lot of that. Better than, Cook didn't have a great year, right?
No.
What did Cook end up?
Dalvin Cook had, I don't know why it's so hard. Just give me like the.
Yeah, this thing is not working at a rate that you'd like.
Just give me the normal. Oh, here we go. All right. Aaron Jones had 1,125 yards, 5.3 yards carry, only 2 touchdowns. I mean, Jamal Williams had, like we said, the 17. Dalvin Cook, 1,243 yards, 4.4 yards a carry, 8 touchdowns. Dalvin Cook also contributed. This is something that Jamal Williams did not. 45 catches for 305 and another 4 scores. Dalvin
Cook's the running back. That's the right choice.
He and Nick Chubb are the only running backs, I think, with 1,200 or more yards in the last 3 years, all 3.
Wide receivers. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Justin Jefferson's in.
Yep.
I think Christian Watson's in. Based on what he was second half.
I don't know about that.
And I want to say probably Amon St. Brown. Those would be my 3.
He's definitely in.
Those are maybe my three. Amon St. Brown, Christian Watson, and Jefferson runs.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is most definitely in here. All right. So Justin Jefferson is a lock.
Yeah.
This is really, sadly, this is a 2-receiver division, if we're being totally honest about it. Amon-Ra St. Brown is 106 for 1161 and 6 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, Offensive Player of the Year. He's obviously in. He had 1857 and 8 on 135 catches. Both of them have Pro Football Focus grades in the 90s. Christian Watson is going to be our third, I would think. So he's got 611 and 7. Lazard 788 and 6. Thielen 766 and 6.
Watson came on late. He was injured early.
Yes.
And then there was a time where he was like, you could count on him. Like every week he got you a touchdown. So I think that the ceiling's better there.
So that's where this division is struggling right now. This division has probably the weakest quarterback.
Weakest quarterback, and outside of Jefferson.
Amon-Ra St. Brown's
He's
legit.
nice, but like it's not like what we're running out in the AFC North.
He's a legit slot receiver.
He is, but we're running out
Cooper,
Higgins, Chase, Higgins. That's another level.
Yeah. Amon-Ra St. Brown would fit into that. In a real football team, you would probably want you'd probably want Chase, Cooper, and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah. All right, tight end.
Hawkinson.
Yeah, easy. All right, we got to pick the pace up here.
You could skip if you want to skip the line and just go to defense here. Unless there's someone on the line that stands out to you.
I mean,
I'm going to give it to Bakhtiari and Penei Sewell.
Yeah. Bakhtiari didn't even play, though.
He's still on my team.
Was Decker good this year? Hard to imagine anybody in Chicago was good.
We need to do more investigation for that. Frank Ragnow was the center, that's for sure, from Detroit. All right. Let's start with edge.
Hutchinson was great.
Loaded. He was, but was he better than Zadarius Smith and
their
Danielle
defense
Hunter?
Was brutal. Minnesota's defense was brutal.
Yeah, the guy got fired.
You know, as we're doing this, I could tell you that I probably watched the least amount of this division's football of any of the divisions.
So we went 3 of these last time. So Danielle Hunter had 13 sacks, Zadarius Smith 10, Aiden Hutchinson 11. So those 3 are probably the 3. Hutchinson, Zadarius, and Danielle Hunter.
Yeah.
On the interior of the defensive line, Kenny Clark is definitely the best of that group.
Fine with that.
Linebackers, Devondre Campbell would be one of our interior guys. Is my guess there. And then, let me look here.
It's like Rashawn Gary is good, but he's like a 3-4 end.
Yeah. Campbell and Jordan Hicks are probably the 2 linebackers. Off ball. Yeah. This is not a great division.
No. That's
Campbell
the overwhelming thing that you come away with here.
All right. Corners, going to be Jair Alexander is one of them for sure. Oh, boy.
We got to pick 3 of these guys. I don't know if anybody in Chicago was good. Did Okudah bounce back?
A little bit.
Rasul Douglas had a nice season. He had 4 picks, and then Pat Pete had 5 picks. So that would be the 3.
Which
Pat
ones?
Pete, and Rasul Douglas should be
on the list.
He should be. Green Bay.
All right. Yeah, this division's brutal.
Yeah, no kidding. And then
safeties. We loved Harrison Smith. Did he have a good year?
I don't know if he's still good. I think Eddie Jackson is probably the creme de la creme here. We could go Eddie Jackson and Harrison Smith on. We'll give him some name recognition there. Specialists. Oh, boy.
It's a bad division, man. Why would Rodgers leave this?
That's the thing that makes no sense because it just is.
All right, we'll have to figure this out. We're up against it. We got to run.
All right.
We got to sort this. This is not a great division. That's my big takeaway. So much more to come. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.